Oh.
That was a bit more of a better hit.
G'day, my name's Darryl Webb. Today we're going to have a look at the Infiray affo ap13. We'll go over its specifications and build quality. We'll have a look at some of the changes they made from the last model. I did a review on the C2W just a few weeks ago, so it's fresh in my head still. So they've made some nice subtle changes, and we'll talk about them. Over this review, I'm going to have lots of thermal overlays, actually, pictures of it being used. I've used it on a couple of hunting trips now, and I've got my head around it quite good. And we'll finish off with some pros and cons, and who I think it's for, what it does well, what it doesn't do well, and we'll leave it at that. Anyway, on that note, let's get into the review. Okay, when you receive the box, it's nicely packaged. It's got a says what's in the box: the affo, power adapter with multiple outlets, as in European, American, a few Australian, a couple of things. It comes with a USB-C cable. It comes with a HDMI cable that suits the unit. Comes with a lens cloth. Comes with a drawstring bag, a neck strap, and a user manual. And that's pretty much what it says on there. affo series thermal imaging monocular, and the little sticker there says it's the ap13. So let's try and get it out. Alright, make room for this here. Okay, so I have been using this obviously, so it's not exactly how it was. But in there you get a book, and I have to say, the book's actually perfectly written. It's in English, Dutch, Russian, and it has pretty much all the info you would need. It has a really good book explaining the HDMI ports and the USB-C, getting started, the main menu functions, exactly like what happens when you push certain buttons, whether it's short press, long press, whether it's awake, whether it's short, whether it's asleep, charging. There's a lot of good info in there, and obviously all its specifications. Okay, also in the box obviously is the affo itself, and it's got some nice cutaway firm foam there. In here is the charger, and it's multiple sockets. And in the other box there was also there was a USB-C cable and a HDMI cable that is no longer in here, so I've had them out using them. There's a little Infiray embossed cleaning cloth, and there is a quite good sized neck strap with a little quick release buckle, which would probably be quite a good way of using it, hanging around your neck. Let's just move that out of the way. How can we do this? See if we can see the unit there. Alright, so it's built in a similar way to the C2W, as in it does have some rubberizing on the top here, and the buttons are all rubberized and sealed up, and it has a rubberizing down there. Now there's a bit of a neck lanyard for that strap down the bottom here. The heatsink has changed. It's not flat anymore. I thought that might mean it rocks on a tripod, but it doesn't. I've used it on there now. It locks up quite well. And under that cover there is your micro HDMI out and your USB-C. And that seals up quite nice. The front of it here has a little torch. As you can see, you can push it on while it's turned off. It's bright enough, but whether you use it or not, it's up to you. It has a 13mm, I believe 13mm, I'll just double check that. Yeah, 13mm lens, and it's a fixed focused. I find it quite clear at the distances out to a couple of 100 meters, or a few 100 meters, and up close within probably about 2 meters. It's focused, so it's sort of handy like that. There is your adjustable diopter. You can't really hear it clicking, but you can definitely feel it. I think the diopter would be nicer if it had a little bit more range. Actually, not so much more range. If it had finer increments. I've had a little bit of trouble getting it perfect for my eye. Sometimes I can't decide which one way left or the other. Maybe I'm in the middle. I feel like it was a bit easier to tune on the older model, but with that said, you can still get a nice clear image. For most people, it wouldn't be a big drama anyway. Your eyes are probably better than mine. Said the button layout's the same. Power, your long press to turn it on. Short press will put it in standby. Short press will wake it back up. There's your up and down buttons. This button back here, if you short press it, takes a photo. If you long press it, it starts video. This one here, if you short press it, it zooms in. If you long press it, it will go into the menus. And this one here, you just short press and it changes through the color palettes. So it's got black hot, red hot, a fusion, sort of like a rainbow color, and it's got a white hot highlight and straight out white hot, and I find the most useful ones of me have been the white hot and the black hot. I sort of go between those two. It's nice to be able to have a few different color palettes. We'll just do some of its specifications quickly, because while we're talking about comparing it to the C2W, the specs are actually quite close. So the resolution for the pixels is a 256 by 192 sensor. It has a 12 micron pixels. It has an NTD millikelvins of less than 40. Frame rate is 25 Hz in this model. The ejector lens is 13mm. The field of view is 13.5 by 10.1. The digital zoom is, so when you're looking through it, it's at 1x zoom. So it makes it a little bit easier to judge distance at 1x zoom. And if you click the center button there, it goes to 2x zoom. Just click it and it goes back to 1x zoom. The diopter has it has -1 to -3 to +1 adjustment on the diopter. But the detection range is 675 meters for a human-sized target with this model. The display is a LCOS and it's 720 by 540. I've also noticed when you record the videos, that's the resolution they come out at, which is better. Through the HDMI, the image looks quite good. Not quite as good as it does for the LCD, but the image quality looks quite good for HDMI. Wi-Fi still seems to lose a bit of quality for whatever known reasons. It has a 3.6 amp hour, 3.6 volt battery built in, and it gives 9.5 hours of runtime. And it has an external power supply, it's 5 volt USB-C, so you can also charge it through there, and you can also power externally through there. Battery runtime, the longest I've used it in one session was about 7 hours, and then I did some filming with it yesterday, so probably another couple of hours. It did a little bit of recording. It wasn't really using much Wi-Fi, and it's still showing half battery. So when I was using it, the weather was probably about 5 to 6 degrees, and filming yesterday it was probably about 10 degrees. So the battery life, even in cold weather, seems to be really good. I think it's going to do 9.5 hours easily. Now just a quick of some more of the specs. It has 32 gigabytes of built-in memory. It has an IP rating of 67. The Wi-Fi, there is an app, Infiray Outdoor app, and that just lets you remote screen view it. There's a tiny bit of lag, but that's fine, but it also transfers files backwards and forwards to your phone, which is really, really handy. The dimensions are 165 by 60 by 60, and the weight is less than 340 grams. Comparing it to the older, the C2W, it just feels a little bit more compact. The unit feels a tiny bit smaller. It fits in your pocket a bit nicer. The size says they're pretty similar, but I found it definitely feels in your hand and that it feels a bit smaller. As for the build quality of it, as I said, the top is that rubber armoured type texture like the C2W, and this insert here is in that same rubber. The rest of it now is in which feels very, very strong, hard plastic. This section in here is all metal. That's where there is the tripod mount and your sockets for your HDMI and USB-C. It's got a nice rubber eyepiece. It's even softer, I would say, or at least as soft, maybe softer than the C2W. It's very pleasing in your eye. It gets a good seal around it, and the screen is quite clear. So build quality overall is quite good. It seems to be what I expect from the Infiray monoculars. The ones that I have used and the ones I've got to play with, they have all had what I call a very robust build quality, and you don't feel like you're going to hurt it by sitting in the center console of your car. If you're out spotlighting or if you're chucking it in and out of your pocket, the build quality is quite good. It also has a stadiometric rangefinder, and it's not something I really use. It gives you a rough idea. The stadiometric way pretty much has pre-known shapes like the size of a boar or the size of a deer, and 2 lines, and you zoom them in and out until it matches the height, and it will tell you how far it thinks it is. It's not a substitute for a proper laser rangefinder. The difference between the C2W and this, there are a couple more. I found that when you're using the C2W, in certain colour palettes you can't record, and also while you're recording you can't actually change the colour palettes. If you're using the Wi-Fi you can, and recording through that, but when you're actually recording in the device you can't change the colour palettes. Now with this one, the affo ap13, I've definitely found that now when you're you can record in any colour palette, and also while you're recording you can actually switch through the colour palettes. So that is a welcome upgrade, because sometimes it's nice to show when you're recording what something will look like in different colour palettes. Anyway, and that now is able to be done. Okay, so I've bought this little screen just so I can film and you guys can actually see the menus. Now I've just fired this up. It's hooked to the HDMI outlet on the ap13, and it's just going to this little screen here. So now let's pick this sort of picture here. Alright, so now you can sort of see in there it's showing up in the top left there, it's showing a little moonlight, it's showing it's at 1x zoom, and it's showing that the shutter is on auto. While we're on that quickly, I'll just go through some of the menu a little bit. So if you press the very front button, it'll change palettes. You can see that's red hot, shows the little flame up there. It's like a fusion. That's a little like white highlight, it's sort of a bit more contrasty. That's got a picture of the sun, it's sort of white hot. That works quite good at night. And back to black hot, which works, I find, very good at night. Okay, so also we'll go one button back, so we'll go to the middle button, which is, if you press it one short press, it zooms in. And you see up the top there now it says 2x zoom. If you press it one short press again, it goes back out to 1x zoom. Now if you hold that middle button in, it brings up the menu. Now this is sort of what I've liked, what they've done. The older models, they were just all icon based. Now it's got the icons as well as the little word saying what it is. So there's Wi-Fi. If you press the thing, we'll turn Wi-Fi on. Press it again, it turns it off. We'll go down to, this one is picture in picture. So it says up there little PIP. So let's turn that on. And there you can see at the top there's a little, I'll bring it onto like the back of that car or something there. And it shows you where, in the center of the screen, where the picture in picture box is actually located. Alright, we'll turn that back off. Oh, went to touch it then. You've also got brightness. So you can, in there you can change that. And you can press it to brighter or dimmer. I find 3 seems to be pretty good, doesn't sort of wreck me night vision. And I can still see what I need to see clearly. Alright, so there's the shutters on automatic. When you press there you've got manual and you've got background. That's different options there, and manual is quite useful if you don't want it to refresh the shutter while you're actually looking at something. It's time and date, a language, and there's a factory reset and information about the actual unit. Anyway, so that's pretty much it. Now if you just long press that center button, it goes back out of the menu. And also while you're on there you can, obviously if you press the button closest to your eye, if you long press it, it starts recording. And you can see in the top right hand corner now it's actually giving recording time. Long press it again, it stops recording. If you just give it a short press, it does a photo. Now also up there, I'll put it on something black so you can see it. Sorry about me shaking. Up there it's showing the time and the battery status there. And yeah, so you're able to see all that information when you're looking through the viewfinder on the unit, but when you're using the Wi-Fi that information is not there. Even like you can't see the picture in picture and things like that, but obviously all that stuff works when you're looking for the eyepiece, or if you run it through a HDMI screen, through the HDMI lead, and then plug it into the actual unit through via HDMI, obviously all these icons then come up. And for shutting down, it's pretty much the same. You just hold the power button in, you'll see it count down. Once it's finished the countdown, it's off. And that's it, that's the menu system on the Infiray ap13. Okay, so for the app, you turn your Wi-Fi on in the actual unit, you join that, and then you go into the Infiray Outdoor app, and you've got all your sort of, from the app here you can get to the photos, the videos, the forum, you can get some product support and whatnot, but you've also got remote files there, so you can go straight into download the images and video from the unit and actually put it straight into your phone. But also while we're here, you can go to the viewfinder, and the viewfinder gives you a nice live view of what it's actually seeing. So at the moment it's looking over that same scene that I was using the screen on, and now while it's in that, I'll just show you a couple little things. You can activate the microphone so it actually records audio via the device. You can take a photo, and you can also put it to video and take video if you like. Now on there's playback. You can go through and look at some of the stuff you've been doing and save them to the device. But you can also see this as a remote screen. So when you're looking at it through this, as I said before with the menus, you can't actually see all the icons on the actual app screen, but you can make changes on the device, like color palettes there. There's the red hot, there's the fusion, there's the white hot highlight, white hot, and back to black hot. So you can go through that stuff, and it does seem pretty handy. It's very, very fast and stable. So you can also make that full screen. Oh, gotta move that thing out of the way. You can make it full screen, and you can view it like that too. So it's handy to be able to see it through a you can have this inside your car and have the unit outside the car mounted on something looking around, and you can Wi-Fi in. There is a tiny bit of lag, but the lag is quite manageable. When I'm viewing this and looking at the recorded files from this, they don't look as good as what they do to the eyepiece. As I've said, the eyepiece definitely seems to be, there's something good going on there. It seems a little bit more pleasing for the eye when you're looking through the eyepiece compared to the recorded videos that are taking with either the Wi-Fi or even through the HDMI. It doesn't look quite as good as through the small screen with the eyepiece. Okay, I know I've already done a quick little from inside my shed. I was looking out the street. You could already see a bit of how the Wi-Fi app works. So this one I won't actually show you how the app actually works. I'm just going to show you the footage, and I brought it out to where I test all the other units, and this is just an open area. The house you can see in center screen is at 550 meters, and the kangaroos there you can see are the closest ones are about 200 and the furthest ones are about 250. So it gives you a good idea sort of what they look like, adult roos at those distances. And we'll just look for a couple of the pallets, and there's sometimes some cars driving over in the background you can see. But anyway, so at the moment we're in black hot. Let's go to red hot. You can see those kangaroos stand out really, really clear. They're a pretty good sized animal, so they do really pop, especially with the red hot. Now this is the fusion. There's the fusion, what it looks like. As again, there you go, you can see some kangaroos moving there. Well, we'll go to, I think this is white hot with highlight. Now we'll go to the normal white hot. As you can see, those reels are the kangaroos are really popping there. You can see them quite clearly. And we'll go back to black hot. Now, as you can see, as I say, the image quality doesn't seem to be as good as compared to looking for the eyepiece. I think there's definitely a little bit of improvement, especially for the eyepiece, of what the image quality looks like compared to previous models I've tested. I can see, I'm not sure if there's really much more detail there, but it just looks a lot more pleasing when I look through the eyepiece compared to the video and the HDMI outlet. The video files, the resolution is the same as what the eyepiece is, so in theory there shouldn't be really any difference, but I'm definitely noticing a bit of a decrease in the quality. So when you're actually using this unit, you see, yeah, probably 20, 30, maybe even as much as 40% better. The image appears better by looking through the actual viewfinder. But with that said, it's quite clear like this too. Okay, so let's have a quick, just do a few pros and cons. I can start with cons pretty easily. There's really only one, and comparing this with the old model, they've just improved everything a little bit. It's not huge differences, but they're just subtle things that have made this a little bit more enjoyable to use. Anyway, that con is where the tripod mount is quite close to the power and HDMI outlet. So when you have an actual tripod adapter plate on there, you've got to be very particular about finding one that's quite small, otherwise it blocks access to the USB-C, and even potentially with some mounts even blocks the HDMI outlet. So it'd be nice if there was a bit more of a space between them, but it is what it is, and there are workarounds. As I said, you just have to find the right little adapter plate, and you can still have access to your cables. And that's about it for the cons. One other one that's just, it's a minor one, but the diopter on the ap13, it doesn't have huge amounts of adjustment. I can get it right for my eye, but it's sort of like one click, feels like it's a little bit two way, the next click is a little bit the other way. I would have liked it if it was like the other models and the previous models, if there was a bit more fine tuning so you could dial it just right. For most people it's not going to be important, just my eyes aren't great because I'm getting a bit older. I do notice it, but I can get a good clear picture out of it, and that's the main thing. That's definitely it for the cons. Pros, as I was saying, some of the changes they made, the new hard front cover, that's nice. You feel the lens is a bit more protected. There's definitely some little bit of magic going on there with the eyepiece. The screen, as I said, to my eyes when I'm using it, it's like there's a noticeable kick up in quality. I'm not sure if it's just the type of screen it is, the size of it, where it's making that actually look better, but I definitely get a nice clear image through the eyepiece. Even a little bit better than what the C2W was. I quite like it. The resolution is the same, but it looks good for this eyepiece. So yeah, I'm not sure why. I like it that if you've sort of transitioned from one to the other, the button layout's still the same. That always comes in handy. You find those three buttons in the dark, that's important. I've also liked the other big pro is, compared to the previous models, even some of the more slightly up spec ones, is that now when you go into the menus, it's not just icon based. There is actually the word, you know, it shows picture in picture, it shows Wi-Fi. So when you first hand this to someone, which I actually did just the other night, they can pretty quickly work out for themselves. It's quite intuitive to find your way through, and now you're not learning what the icons mean, there's words and tell you what it actually is. Anyway, that's it for the pros. There's probably lots more. Conclusion. Who do I sort of think this one's for? Well, the other day, using it, I was shooting out to distances that are probably getting closer to centerfire distances, and I had no worries for finding those animals. So at 150 meters was sort of the range I was limited to with a 22 Magnum. This was still fine. After that, a fox and a hare started to look pretty similar. You had to look for movement, and if a hare was bouncing along a bit like a fox at 150 meters or beyond 150 meters, there wasn't quite enough resolution there to tell the difference, but that's just the sensor size. Inside 150, I can quite comfortably tell the difference between a hare and a fox. So I think it's going to be good definitely for a scanner, for people just to find something and then stalk into it if you're using a centerfire rifle. You will know there's something there. You know, at quite a few hundred meters, as you've seen in the footage, you can see hares out quite a few hundred meters. So I think this is suitable. It's not just for rimfire people, it's also for centerfire users as well. It is enough there. I said there's not huge amounts of detail, but you can definitely tell there is something there. Anyway, on that note, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos, hit the subscribe button. And because I've got a FH35R coming very shortly, I believe. So it's an up-spec model. It's sort of the higher grade sensor, and it's got a built-in rangefinder. So I'm really looking forward to reviewing that, and I hope I can give you some good information on that one as well. Anyway, stay tuned for some more bonus footage. Bye for now.